Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaimMD. Today we're going to talk about Hisuian Samurott from a competitive point of view. I know that Pokemon Legends Arceus does not have competitive Pokemon, however, we'll be looking forward at Gen 9 or whatever game these Pokemon will be available in the future and just, your standard Pokemon game. So if you guys have any thoughts on Hisuian Samurott, make sure you leave them down below. If you enjoy the video at any given point, feel free to leave a like, and also if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I'm on my way to 300k. That is my end of the year goal. I upload a lot of competitive Pokemon content, and if you subscribe, if you like the content, you help me get there. So, Hisuian Samurott has a lot to live up to. Let me explain. This Pokemon is now water and dark, and there is a pristine list of water and dark Pokemon. You have Crawdon with adaptability. You have Greninja with Protean and Battle Bond. You have Sharpedo with Speed Boost, and of course Mega Sharpedo, and you have Mega Gyarados with Dragon Nest. So that in itself is already a really annoying list to have to, really compare to. And it's hard not to compare them to that Pokemon because the Water Darks have been so well, or they've been so good. But nonetheless, Samurott does share the same abilities as regular Samurott as far as we know, Torrent and Shell Armor. And then let's look at the stats. So, regular Samurott, 95 HP, 100 attack, 85 defense, 108 special attack, 70 special defense, and 70 speed. Now, this Samurott did get a little bit of a buff while also getting a nerf in some of its defenses. It has 108 attack now instead of base 100, and then 100 special attack. So they kind of just flipped the attack and special attack. But they did do something that I like. This is probably one of the biggest buffs you could ever make to a Pokemon, right? For Decidueye, it had a lot of potential. If you guys want to see my thoughts on the Decidueye and Typhlosion, feel free to check them out. But for Decidueye, it had a lot of potential had they not changed its speed. They made this Samurott faster, and base 85 is a very good speed tier. It is a very good speed tier because at neutral max, you're faster than Pokemon like Adamant Mamoswine, Modest Heatran, Timid Magearnaut type of thing, even if that mon isn't around. And at Jolly, you are faster than Timid Mamoswine. Jolly Mamoswine. Nobody's running Timid Mamoswine. That's bad. Jolly, or Timid Togekiss, and just Jolly base 80s. So this is really good, especially because if this Pokemon ends up becoming lower tier, like being faster than Pokemon like Medicham, as well as Gallade and those are like literally lower tier premier fighting types, is really good. Also, being able to speed tie with Nidoking, I like that. Being faster than Timid Nidoqueen, I think, is also a really good thing for this Pokemon. So this is quite a buff for Samurott, going from base 70 to base 85. And of course, its defenses got less. We have 80 defense and 65, and then 90 HP versus 95 HP, 85 defense, and 70 special defense. So that might hurt it in terms of setting up, but overall, I do like the stat changes. I think if you really want to buff a Pokemon, especially an offensive Pokemon with Access to Swords Dance and also a special move pool, you want to give it speed. So I like that buff overall. Now, in terms of, we're going to look at its moves, and then I'm going to really compare them to the other Pokemon as well. But in terms of its moves, some buffs to Samurott's moveset, of course, the Dark type now is that it has Night Slash. It already had Knockoff as regular Samurott. Regular Samurott already learns Knockoff, so I'm really hoping that this is something that this Samurott gets as well. But it has Night Slash, Dark Pulse, so those are added to its move pool. I believe it didn't have Night Slash before. I just want to check to make sure I'm not lying to you. It did have Night Slash. Okay, cool. So it already has Night Slash. I had Knockoff, but I know that Dark Pulse and its new move, Cecil's Edge, were added to its move pool. So Dark Pulse is, we'll go into Cecil's Edge in a second, but Dark Pulse is pretty cool because it means that you basically are Greninja. Like, you are literally Battle Bond Greninja with Hydro Pump, Dark Pulse, and Ice Beam. This is already good coverage. You can be like a mini wall breaker in the lower tiers. Base 100 special attack is nothing to scoff at, especially because Greninja's base 103, and because Greninja always has to run Timid, because you have that speed tier where you're faster than very relevant Pokemon. You actually end up hitting harder initially than Gren. So I like that a lot. Hydro Pump, Dark Pulse, and Ice Beam. Not to mention, of course, you only have Torrent or Shell Armor. You probably run Torrent with this as well. You'd more likely run a Life Orb or Spec. So this is the comparable one to Greninja. And then in this scenario, you'd most likely make your last move. It would be very dependent on what's used in the tier, right? So for example, Samurai has access to Mega Horn. If Celebi was the #1 most used Pokemon in the tier, you'd probably put Mega Horn here as your move. If it does learn Mega Horn, if this one learns Mega Horn. Why? Because it's a 4 times effective move that can knock it out. If Ludicolo is the most common Pokemon in the tier, you'd probably knock it out with Mega Horn too. You'd run Dark Pulse with Mega Horn and deal with that. However, I think something that this has over Greninja, and this is something that Greninja wishes it could do, is that this Pokemon has access to Sewer Power. At least the original version of Samurott, and I'm really hoping that, you know, this mon gets it too. So it can afford to be a mixed wall breaker right here with Life Orb, Hydro Pump, Dark Pulse, and Ice Beam, and then Super Power to be able to break through Blissey, Chansey, Snorlax, basically your standard normal type walls, special walls that can deal with that. So I really like this. I like the ability to be a mixed wall breaker. This is something different from Greninja because and Greninja does have low kick. I don't want to take that from it, but low kick varies in power versus its targets, right? Like it's not the strongest versus like Blissey and Chansey, but this one's always 120 base power. So it basically is mini Greninja without spikes. I would have loved spikes in its move pool because it literally could have been Gren. But I like this a lot for the Pokemon itself. So in terms of a special move pool, it getting Dark Pulse is great. Being able to flinch, having that speed tier, and again, being faster than Pokemon like Nidoqueen and speed time with Nidoking is a really good thing for this Pokemon. You're faster than most grass and the fighters in the tier as well, so you can just 2-hit KO them with your strong Hydro Pumps. Now, we also have Swords Dance as an option, and we'll get into that in a second because Samurott always had that. But Ceaseless Edge is his new move. It's 65 base power, has 100% secondary effect, and 90 accuracy. I always hate when they give us 90, 95 accuracy. Like, why? Just why do they do this? I don't understand why they do this because it feels worse missing a 90 or 95 move than missing like Focus Blast or Hydro Pump or anything, because you expect those to miss, right? This is like, I need you most, you freaking vanish. The user slashes its Shell Blades at the target, aiming to land a critical hit. Shell Splinters left behind by this attack will continue to damage the target for several turns. So this move has two secondary abilities, it looks like. First off, a chance of critting. Now it says effect is 100%. I don't know if that means that it actually does have a 100% chance in critting itself, as I have not used Samurott in my playthrough, and I haven't seen a lot of people use Samurott in their playthrough. So somebody please confirm that for me so we can talk about other people. If it has a 100% chance to crit, I mean, that's good. It's basically knockoff's base power, right? Because it would be 65 times 1.5, which would be 97.5. Knockoff is 65, which goes up to 97 as well when your opponent has an item. So that's a good move. That's a good move. And on top of that, it has Shell Splinters left behind by this attack will continue to damage the target for several turns. So Splinters are basically what we turn Stealth Rock into. Now I don't know if Stealth Rock are going to stay the way they are, you know, instead of they just be attacking every turn, kind of like a Fire Spin or Magma Storm. I don't know if they'll stay like that, or this actually means that this move will be like a Fire Spin or a Rapid or Magma Storm, in the sense that not only does it damage you turn per turn, but you're also trapped. Now this is also a trapping move as well, because I don't know a lot of moves that can damage you turn per turn that don't end up trapping you, unless we're talking about like, you know, the G-Max moves of like, what is it, Blastoise in them, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of those starters, or it's one set of starters that can do that. However, that doesn't actually make you trapped. It just means that you can switch out, but the Pokemon coming in will still take damage turn per turn. So this is interesting, right? Because if it's a trapping move, like a move that makes sure the Pokemon can't switch, incredible, right? Because not only do I have a chance to crit this one, or this is 100% here. I don't know, again, I don't know if that means the crit's 100%. Please, someone specify that down below for not only my sake, but for everybody. But also, the fact that it's doing damage turn per turn is sick, because if it does crit you, and it barely misses out on a KO, let's say a crit does like 45% to physically defensive talk specs, right? With that, and you couple in the damage that happens right after, I could 2-hit KO you. You know what I mean? And if it does actually end up trapping you, again, I don't know if they'll end up being trapped, because I don't know how they're gonna work this in the new games. I don't know if it'll be like Fire Spin. I don't know if it'll be like those G-Max moves. But if it does end up actually trapping you, incredible, right? Because then it has a strong move it says 65 base power, but it's actually 97.5, which is rounds down to 97 when Pokemon, because Pokemon rounds down. And this would mean I trap the opponent, I do damage turn per turn, and it's a strong move, as strong as knockoff. It's almost as good as knocking off their item, you know, because knocking off an opponent's item, and especially in competitive Pokemon, your item is everything, right? Unless you're like a Poltergeist switching, then your item means nothing, and then you don't want an item. But your item generally means everything. So being able to compare to knock off, I think is really strong with this move. So this move has a lot of potential as once we understand how exactly it works and how they rework it for the new game. So other things that look really good obviously are Swords Dance. This is aiming to land a critical hit. I said I don't think it's 100% because this is aiming to land a critical hit. I think if it would say which always lands a critical hit, obviously that'd be different. But Swords Dance is something Samurai already have. So I can obviously see Swords Dance, Ceaseless Edge, Liquidation, which is something Samurai has somewhere else in other gens. And then obviously your Aqua Jet for priority. Now this is very comparable to Chronon. However, it is obviously weaker. Chronon not only has 120 base power naturally, which is already stronger than Samurott, but let me get rid of the other Samurott, which is just in the way. But it also has adaptability, so its stab moves become 2 times instead of 1.5, so its moves are incredibly strong, so that's already a lot, right, for itself. And then Sharpedo already has a speed boost, so it can raise its speed. Now, your speed being faster than Crawdot and, like, in between the Gyarados and Sharpedo range, I think is good enough for special sets to be able to work, especially in lower tiers. Sure, I actually think this combination will really well, because Sharpedo actually has the exact same coverage, right? It has Close Combat, Crunch, Liquidation, Ice Beam, Ice Fang, whatever it wants to run. It has all of those. But it doesn't have any bulk, right? Like, this is a Mon that will die to Caterpie. Literally, because Caterpie uses Bug Bite, Sharpedo dies. But, so I like this middling speed tier. I like the ability to be special as well. Like, Crawdon can do the exact same thing, but it doesn't have the speed tier to do it, which is why it typically takes advantage of physical sets or mixed physical sets with like Sludge Bomb and BDSP so they can do a Tangrowth. But that's because it's faster than Tangrowth, right? It doesn't have the ability to run fast special sets, and which is why it relies on its strong physical stab and priority in Aqua Jet. So that's something that Samurott obviously differs from. And then Gyarados has Dragon Dance, so that's already and also, look, these stats are completely ridiculous, but that's a mega variant. But Swords Dance sets could obviously run Swords Dance, Liquidation, and then your knockoff or Ceaseless Edge. Depends really what you value out of this. I think knockoff might be a little bit stronger to run if it does still have access to knockoff, just because of the fact that I can't miss, and it would suck to be +2 boosted and then miss. But Ceaseless Edge on like choice sets, I think on both, like choice band, both of the moves could work, right? You have knockoff, and then you have the Ceaseless Edge for the chance to crit, and the damage after, maybe even trapping. I doubt it's trapping. It doesn't specify anything there, so we'll see what actually happens. But and of course, you'd still have the Mega Horn, the Super Power option as well. I would have loved this Pokemon to be Water Fighting or Water Steel, to be honest, with Dark coverage as well as Fighting coverage, so it'd be almost comparable to like an offensive Empoleon, but better. It'd be a better Swords Dance Empoleon, right? Because of the speed tier, because of the attack stat, because of the a few other things as well. But like, it would just be better Empoleon in that, in at least Swords Dance. Basically, the speed tier is what would make it. But overall, I think Samurott has potential in that. And it does have obviously other moves here. It can use Poison Jab if you want for fairies. You got Psycho Cut, cool for Toxapex as well. If that's something that ends up being there, you get Aqua Tail. I think Liquidation's always better. I mean, it is always better. It doesn't miss, and it's strong as hell. And of course, the Mega Horn sets. So overall, it has a lot to live up to because it is a Water Dark, and the Water Darks are all amazing. But in terms of Mix, Wall Breaker, Special, and in terms of Swords Dance, Physical, and even Choice Band, I think it has potential. I would have loved it to get Spikes as well, so that way I could run literally Greninja set, like the exact same thing. I think that would have been funny. And it all depends on how Ceaseless Edge transfers over to the new games. But let me know your thoughts overall, guys, on Samurott. Do you think it's a good Pokemon? Do you think it has potential? Again, the 85 speed tier makes it have potential in higher tiers as well. Decently strong Hydro Pumps. The ability to potentially beat Ferrothorn with Swords and Superpowers, and have Aqua Jet priority for the weaker Pokemon. I think Dark, obviously, I didn't even talk about like the weaknesses it adds on to it, but obviously Dark adds on quite a few weaknesses, right? You got the Bug, you got the Fairy, you got the Fighting. So that's pretty bad for it. And then on top of it already resisting Dark and Ghost, it doesn't have the best special defense, it has worse special defense and HP than regular Samurott, so that's kind of like iffy too. But it will help out in a pinch, right? Like, you'll always live a Spec Shadow Ball from Dragapult at above 50%. I'm going to say about 60%. You'd always live a Spec Dragon Ball from that, and you can knock it out with Knockoff or your Ceaseless Edge, provided you hit Ceaseless Edge. So that will make a difference, at least for this Pokemon. And having Aqua Jet priority for also stronger ghosts that are weak to it, like Blacephalon, I think is pretty cool too. So let me know your guys' thoughts. You can leave them down below. Like I said, if you are new to the channel, subscribe as I upload Pokemon content every single day. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.